My best friend stole my wedding dress and was about marrying my fiancé. What I did next will shock you. Watch to see how I turned the tables on them both. Remember to subscribe to Out channel, like this video, and comment where in the world you are watching this video from. My name is Ava Carter, and this is my story. I had always dreamed of this moment, the day I'd say, I do, in front of the people I love, wearing the dress I had envisioned since I was a little girl. Nothing could ruin this day, or so I thought, until I found out that my best friend had stolen everything I ever wanted. It all started with a dream. Ava Carter had always imagined my wedding day to be magical. I wasn't the kind of girl who spent hours planning her wedding since I was a child, but when I met Liam, everything changed. We clicked instantly. He was the man I knew I wanted to spend my life with. And when he proposed on a quiet evening in Malibu under the stars, I couldn't help but think that this was my moment. The dress, the venue, the flowers, it was all coming together. But there was one thing that mattered more than anything else: the dress. For me, the wedding dress wasn't just a piece of clothing. It was a symbol of the life I was about to start. It had to be perfect. It had to be mine. So when I found the dress, I knew I had to have it. I had searched through dozens of bridal shops in Los Angeles, but none of them compared. This dress from a small boutique downtown felt like it was made just for me. It was everything: delicate lace, intricate beading, and that perfect shade of ivory. It was simple yet elegant, with just the right amount of drama. It hugged my body in all the right places, and when I looked in the mirror, I knew this was the dress I would marry Liam in. I couldn't wait to show it off to Emma, my maid of honor and my best friend since college. We had been through everything together: breakups, family drama, vacations, and late-night talks about love and life. She was my rock, my go-to, my sister from another mother. If anyone was going to help me pick out my wedding day look, it was her. But there was something I didn't expect, something I never saw coming. It was the week before the wedding when everything went sideways. I had been at work, finalizing the last details for the ceremony and reception, when I received a text from Emma. It was a photo of her looking absolutely stunning, wearing the dress I had chosen for myself, smiling in front of a mirror with a caption that read, "Can't wait for my wedding day," read. For a second, I thought I was seeing things. My stomach dropped and my fingers froze over my phone. There was no mistake. It was my dress. My dress. The one I had poured hours of excitement, tears, and anticipation into. I stared at the picture for what felt like an eternity, unable to process what I was seeing. I called Emma immediately, hoping there was some mistake, that maybe this was just a misunderstanding. But no. As soon as she picked up, I could hear it in her voice. She knew. "Ava, I know what you're thinking," she said, her tone almost too calm. "But Liam and I, well, we've been planning this for a while." I could feel the world around me starting to crack. Liam, my fiancé, Liam had been planning a wedding with Emma behind my back. The silence on the other end of the line was deafening. My heart raced, and I could barely breathe. I needed answers, but they were slipping away like sand through my fingers. I didn't even know where to start, so I asked the only question that mattered. "What do you mean, you and Liam?" "I'm sorry, Ava," she continued. "I didn't want to hurt you, but he's been planning to marry me for months. We were supposed to tell you after your wedding, but, well, I guess it's all happening now." The betrayal hit me like a wave. My best friend, the person I trusted most, had been secretly planning a life with the man I was supposed to marry. And that dress, my dress, was now part of their twisted plan. As I sat there, stunned and confused, the last shred of my innocence was stripped away. My wedding, my future, my trust, everything had been stolen in one swift blow. I won't lie, I was furious. And the worst part, I couldn't even cry. It felt like the air had been sucked out of the room, and all that was left was an overwhelming urge to do something. But what? I thought about walking away. I thought about calling off the wedding and leaving Liam to his secrets. But deep down, I knew there was no way I could let Emma get away with this. No way. I was done being the victim in her little game. She had crossed the line, and now I would make sure she paid for it. I spent the next few days plotting. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw the dress, my dress, on Emma. I saw her standing there, smug and confident, as if she had earned this moment. And I couldn't just let it go. It was time for revenge. The plan came to me in pieces, a bit here, a bit there, until I could finally see it all laid out in front of me. The wedding was still days away, but I knew I had to act fast. I couldn't just walk in there and cause a scene. It had to be perfect, calculated, precise, and unforgettable. I thought about the ceremony, about what I could do to destroy Emma's moment while still getting back at Liam. After all, he wasn't innocent in all this. He had lied to me for months. He had stood beside me, held my hand, promised me his future, all while planning his secret wedding with my best friend. No, this wasn't just about Emma. This was about them both. I wasn't going to crash her wedding and cause chaos, not in the way you'd expect. I was going to make Emma regret ever taking my dress. I would show her exactly how it felt to have something stolen from you. I couldn't wait to see her face when the truth came out. When everyone, her family, our friends, saw her standing there, thinking she had it all, only to have it ripped away. As the wedding day drew closer, I felt a strange calm settle over me. The plan was in motion. The revenge was set. I was no longer the heartbroken bride. I was someone else, someone who had nothing to lose. And I would make sure that Emma's day would be a day she'd never forget. But what would happen when I walked into the ceremony? Would Emma ever suspect what I had planned? How would she react when she realized that the truth was about to be revealed in front of everyone? There was only one way to find out. The wedding day was almost here, and with it, my chance to take back everything that had been stolen from me. If you're feeling as shocked as I am, make sure to like this video and subscribe for more updates. What would you do if you were in my shoes? Let me know in the comments. Would you seek revenge or would you walk away? The dress wasn't just a piece of fabric. It wasn't just a garment meant for one day. It was a symbol of everything I thought I had, my love, my future, my trust. And now it was the very thing that would tear me apart. But that's when I realized I wasn't the only one who had been lied to. They had both betrayed me, and now it was my turn to make them pay. I couldn't sleep that night. How could I? My mind kept running in a million directions, the betrayal echoing in my head like a constant drumbeat. Emma, my best friend, the one person I had shared everything with, had taken my wedding dress. The one thing that was supposed to make the day perfect. It had always been about that dress, the moment I'd step into it and all the memories it would hold. But now it was tainted by lies, secrets, and stolen moments. But it wasn't just Emma who hurt me. No, Liam, my fiancé, the man I was about to marry, had been hiding this from me for months. He had been planning his own wedding behind my back, while telling me that I was the one he wanted to spend forever with. What kind of man does that? What kind of person plays with someone's emotions like that? I couldn't just sit here, wallowing in self-pity. I had to do something. I woke up early the next morning, my thoughts sharp and calculated. I couldn't let this go. I wouldn't just sit by while Emma and Liam lived out their secret romance. They both deserved to feel the weight of what they'd done, and I would make sure they did. I called in sick to work. I knew I wouldn't be able to focus on anything with my mind in this state. Instead, I spent the entire day alone, packing my apartment, thinking of how I could make Emma feel the same sense of betrayal I felt. The dress was gone, but my revenge, that was just beginning. I sat at my kitchen table, the sun streaming through the windows, casting shadows on the floor. I was so angry, but there was a certain calmness in my anger. I felt a fire that I hadn't felt in a long time. For the first time in days, I felt in control of something. I knew I had to be careful. Revenge wasn't something I could just throw together. It had to be executed perfectly. I wanted to ruin Emma's day, and I knew the best way to do it was to turn her wedding into a living nightmare. I had an idea, one that would completely blindside her. I'd spent the entire morning making phone calls, organizing everything behind the scenes. I knew how to use their own trust against them. It wasn't just about humiliating Emma. It was about exposing the lies that had been buried between the three of us for so long. Emma and Liam thought they had it all figured out. They thought they could go behind my back and get away with it. But I had something they didn't, the truth. And the truth would always be more powerful than any dress or wedding ceremony. I spent the afternoon working through the details of my plan, making sure it was airtight. I had my revenge figured out. Emma would be standing in front of all her guests, thinking she had won, when in reality, everything would come crashing down around her. I thought about how she had looked in the picture she sent me, wearing my dress with that smug, satisfied smile on her face. It made me sick. She knew exactly what she was doing, taking something that wasn't hers, something that meant the world to me. But what if I could take that moment away from her? What if I could make her the one who felt exposed and humiliated? The more I thought about it, the clearer the plan became. The next day, I started executing my plan. I contacted the wedding venue where Emma had booked her ceremony, pretending to be someone else. I told them I was a family member who had some important information about Emma's wedding. They were more than happy to help, assuming I was legitimate. I had access to all the details, what time the wedding would start, where it would be held, everything. But the real trick wasn't just showing up at the ceremony. That would have been too obvious. I had something far better planned. I reached out to one of Emma's bridesmaids, Clara, who I had always gotten along with. I spun a story about how I had found out that Emma wasn't just using the dress for her wedding, but had also been planning to sell it afterward to make some quick cash. Clara was horrified when I told her, and she agreed to help me, without knowing what my true intentions were. I fed her just enough information to stir the pot, knowing it would get back to Emma and her fiancé. The day of the wedding came quickly. My heart raced, but I forced myself to remain calm. It was a strange feeling, being so angry, but at the same time, knowing that my revenge was finally about to unfold. The dress may have been gone, but I would make sure Emma felt the sting of her actions. I pulled into the parking lot of the wedding venue, my stomach in knots. I had already received the confirmation from Clara that everything was in place. The guests would arrive soon, and Emma's perfect day would soon be shattered. I was just about to enter the venue when I saw Liam. He was talking to some of the guests, smiling, looking like the picture of a perfect groom. He had no idea what was coming. I didn't even acknowledge him. I just walked past, heading toward the back entrance where I had arranged everything. I waited in the shadows, watching the guests trickle into the venue. The ceremony was about to start, and everything was set. Emma would walk down that aisle, thinking she had won, while I held the power in my hands. As the music began, I could hear Emma's laugh from the front of the venue. She was greeting people, looking so confident in her dress, my dress. And then I saw her. She walked into the venue, her face glowing with excitement. I wanted to feel happy for her, I really did. But I couldn't. Not when she had stolen something so precious from me. It was time. I texted Clara, telling her to make sure everything was set up. The moment was drawing closer. Emma didn't know what was coming, but she would feel it soon enough. I never expected to be here, standing in front of all these people, waiting for the moment when I would finally show her the truth. Emma thought she had it all, but she would learn the hard way, just like I did. The truth always comes out, no matter how hard we try to hide it. The moment had arrived. Emma was standing in front of the altar, looking so confident in her dress. But little did she know, her secret was about to be exposed. I had taken back what was mine in a way she would never forget. And as Emma turned to look at her guests, I felt a surge of satisfaction flood through me. She was about to lose everything. Do you think I'm doing the right thing? Would you have handled this differently? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. I've never felt this level of anticipation before. It's the calm before the storm. The moment I've been waiting for is finally here, and nothing, absolutely nothing, is going to stop me from getting what's mine. It's no longer just about the dress. It's about taking control. It's about making sure that Emma and Liam feel the consequences of what they've done. The day had finally arrived, the day I would confront Emma and Liam face to face. My stomach churned with a cocktail of anxiety and excitement. It was the kind of feeling you get just before you step onto a roller coaster, thrilling and terrifying at the same time. But unlike a roller coaster, there would be no going back after this. I stared at myself in the mirror, barely recognizing the woman staring back. The person I had been a week ago, the innocent bride-to-be, was gone. What stood before me now was someone new, a woman hardened by betrayal, ready to take back what had been stolen from her. I couldn't let them have this victory. Emma thought she had won, wearing my dress. Liam thought he had everything under control, keeping his little secret hidden behind my back. But today, I would take control of the narrative. Today, I would flip the script. I pulled the final details together, checking my phone to ensure everything was set. I had made sure my plan was tight. Nothing could go wrong. Clara had been invaluable, and as promised, she'd helped spread the right information in all the right places. Today was about bringing everything to light. I got in my car and drove to the venue, the familiar streets of Los Angeles looking like any other day. But everything felt different now. Every turn I took, every mile I drove, felt like a step closer to my redemption. The world around me blurred as I focused on one thing, the ceremony. The moment I would walk in there and make everything fall apart. The venue was stunning. It had been one of Emma's dream locations. She always told me about how she imagined getting married here, how she had picked the venue because it was elegant but not too flashy. It was perfect for her. But now, it felt like a cage. I parked in the back lot, just as I had planned, and walked to the entrance. My heart was pounding in my chest. The dress I had chosen for today wasn't just a beautiful outfit, it was my weapon. A bold statement. A visual punch to the gut that Emma would never see coming. She thought she had taken everything from me, but today I would take back control. I couldn't believe this was happening. I was about to walk into the same venue where Emma was about to marry the man who had promised me forever. Liam. The man who had stood at the altar in front of our families, looking me in the eyes and saying, "I do," to a future that was nothing but a lie. I took a deep breath, pushing open the door. The ceremony hadn't started yet, but the guests were already arriving. I could see the crowd gathering, the white flowers decorating the aisle, the soft sounds of classical music playing in the background. Emma's wedding was set to be everything she had dreamed of, but now it would be everything I made it. The tension was thick in the air. I could feel it, even before I took my seat. This wasn't going to be just another wedding. This was going to be a revelation. The beginning of the end for everything Emma and Liam had built on lies. I saw Emma up ahead, talking to her bridesmaids, her face glowing. She looked radiant, her smile wide, blissfully unaware of what was about to unfold. The sight of her made my blood boil. I thought I might feel some sense of relief, maybe even a little sense of triumph, but no, it was more than that. It was deeper, more intense. This wasn't just about revenge, it was about justice. It was about confronting the person who took from me without a second thought and ensuring she felt the full weight of her actions. I took my seat in the back row, my heart hammering. I could hear the chatter around me, the murmurs of the guests as they looked at the beautiful ceremony ahead of them. They had no idea what was about to happen. As I sat there, the ceremony began. The music changed, and the guests fell silent. I couldn't help but watch, my eyes locked on Emma as she made her way down the aisle, her smile so wide, so confident. But it wasn't her day, it was mine. And it was time to bring the truth to light. The vows began. The officiant spoke, and Liam looked at Emma, that same gleam in his eyes that had once been directed at me. The words were meaningless. I couldn't even hear them. All I could hear was the pounding of my own heart, louder than anything else. This was it, the moment I had prepared for. I stood up. I moved through the rows of seats, my footsteps quiet at first but growing louder with each step. The eyes of the room shifted toward me, but Emma was still focused on Liam. She didn't even notice me at first. Then I did it. I reached for my phone and texted Clara, the signal for the next part of my plan. Within seconds, I saw her face change, her eyes scanning the room. And then it happened. Clara, in the front row, stood up with a letter in her hand, catching everyone's attention. "Excuse me, everyone," she said, her voice shaky but determined. "I think there's something we need to discuss, a piece of information that should have been shared before today." The officiant stopped, the guests exchanged confused glances, and Emma's smile faltered. She turned to see what was happening, her face pale as Clara handed the letter to the officiant. The room fell silent. I could see the color drain from Emma's face as the officiant unfolded the letter, reading aloud the details of Emma's secret wedding with Liam, the one that had been hidden from me, the one where she had stolen my dress, and the one where they had planned their future while keeping me in the dark. The letter contained the confession of everything that had happened behind the scenes, from their secret meetings to their private conversations, and how Emma had betrayed me, all while pretending to be my best friend. Every eye in the room was on Emma now. Her cheeks flushed with anger and shame, but it was too late. The truth was out. She couldn't run from it. And Liam, standing by her side, had no idea how to react. His face was frozen, his eyes wide in shock. The revelation hit him as hard as it hit Emma. I could feel the air shift. The guests were whispering, murmuring amongst themselves, trying to process what they had just heard. But Emma, she was too stunned to speak. Her gaze met mine for the first time since I had walked into the room. And in that moment, I saw something in her eyes, fear. Her world was crumbling before her eyes. The truth I had carefully hidden from her was now laid bare, and there was nothing she could do to stop it. But that was just the beginning. What I was about to do next would make sure she never forgot this moment. I wasn't just going to expose her lies. I was going to make her feel every bit of the pain she caused me. The room was silent. I could feel every pair of eyes on me, on Emma, on Liam. The world around me seemed to slow down, and the heavy tension in the air was palpable. I watched as Emma's smile vanished from her face, replaced by a mask of shock and disbelief. Her wide eyes flicked between Clara, the efficient, and then finally to me. She couldn't comprehend what was happening. Her perfect wedding, her perfect life, shattered in a matter of seconds. The letter Clara had handed over was the tipping point, but this wasn't where the story ended. No, this was just the moment I had been waiting for, the calm before the storm. I could hear Clara's voice, shaking with unease but still determined. This isn't just a betrayal between friends. It's much bigger than that. Emma's secrets are about to unravel, and we're all here to witness it. The murmurs around the room grew louder as everyone processed the bombshell they had just witnessed. Emma's face flushed red with humiliation, and Liam stood beside her, frozen. The shock on his face was written all over him. He had no idea what was coming, just as Emma had no clue what I had planned next. I couldn't let this go unanswered. The truth needed to come out, but I wasn't done yet. I had more to expose, more to say, more to do. "Everyone," I said, stepping forward into the spotlight. My voice was steady, but the fire inside me burned hot. "You all deserve to know the full story, what Emma and Liam thought would be their happily ever after. It's all based on lies. Lies I was too blind to see, but now I see everything." My heart pounded as I spoke, but I had never been so sure of anything in my life. I looked directly at Emma, watching the fear settle over her face. She tried to speak, to apologize, but I wouldn't let her. The damage was done. "No, Emma, you don't get to apologize now. Not after everything you've done," I continued. "You've hurt me in ways I can't even describe. But today, I'll make sure everyone knows the truth about who you really are." The audience was completely silent now, hanging on my every word. I could feel their eyes on me, waiting for the next move. Emma stood frozen, her hands gripping the edges of her gown, as though she could somehow will herself back into the reality she had imagined. I stepped closer, moving toward her. This was the moment when everything would come crashing down. The dress wasn't just a symbol of my betrayal. It was the last thread of the life we once shared as friends. "Did you really think you could get away with this, Emma?" I asked, my voice growing louder with every word. "Did you think I wouldn't find out, that I wouldn't be able to see through your perfect little facade?" Her lips trembled, but she couldn't answer. She was speechless, helpless in the face of the truth that had been revealed. And yet, as much as I wanted to bask in the victory of watching her squirm, I knew this wasn't just about humiliation. This was about taking back what was mine, and I wasn't going to stop until Emma felt the weight of every moment she had stolen from me. I turned to the guests, our friends, family, the people who had gathered to celebrate what they thought was a beautiful love story. Now, they were about to witness something far different. "I'm sure most of you don't know the full story," I continued. "But the truth is, I wasn't just betrayed by my best friend. I was betrayed by the man I was about to marry, Liam." Liam flinched at the sound of his name, his eyes widening in horror. It was as though the truth had hit him harder than anyone else. He could no longer hide behind his charm, his apologies, or his explanations. This wasn't just a misunderstanding. It was a choice, a conscious decision to deceive me for months, to hide a life he'd built with someone else while I was left in the dark. I saw Emma try to reach for him, but Liam took a step back. His gaze shifted between her and me, panic rising in his eyes. He opened his mouth to speak, but I cut him off. "No," I said firmly. "You don't get to explain yourself now, Liam. You knew exactly what you were doing. You and Emma thought you could have it all. But now the truth is out, and there's no running from it." I could see the shock on Emma's face, her eyes flicking between me and Liam, trying to figure out how everything had come undone. She reached out to Liam again, her voice shaky. "Liam, please. I didn't mean for this to happen. I didn't know." Her words were empty. There was no redemption for what she had done. And as much as I wanted to see her suffer for the betrayal, I couldn't help but feel a small pang of sadness. We had once been so close. We had shared secrets, tears, and laughter, but none of that mattered anymore. It was over. The tension in the room was thick. Everyone was silent now, no one daring to speak. The guests had no idea what to do, some still processing the truth of what had just been revealed. I didn't care anymore. This wasn't for them. This was for me. This was for the years of friendship Emma and I had, now reduced to rubble by a single lie. I turned to face Emma one last time. She was visibly shaken now, her eyes brimming with tears. She opened her mouth, but no words came out. "You don't get to cry now, Emma," I said coldly. "Not when you've taken everything from me, not when you've ruined my future." She finally broke down, her face contorting with guilt and regret. But it was too late for that. The damage had already been done. And as I looked at her, a part of me, the old Ava, wanted to reach out to forgive her, to try and salvage some semblance of what we had. But the new Ava, the woman who had been wronged, who had been betrayed, stood firm. I would never be the same again. "I'm done with you," I said, my voice unwavering. And with that, I turned and walked away. I thought exposing the truth would bring me peace. I thought that once Emma and Liam knew the full weight of their actions, the pain would stop. But nothing could prepare me for what happened next. The fallout wasn't just about them. It was about me, too. And in that moment, I realized revenge doesn't heal you, it changes you. It's strange, isn't it? The way life shifts after something monumental happens. One moment, you're a bride-to-be, full of excitement and anticipation for your wedding day. The next, you're standing at the center of a broken dream, holding the shattered pieces of your heart, trying to figure out where to go from here. That's where I was. After exposing Emma and Liam at the altar, after watching everything they thought they had fall apart in an instant, I expected something, anything, to change. I expected to feel relief, satisfaction, maybe even a sense of victory. But instead, all I felt was emptiness, and a strange kind of loneliness that I couldn't shake. I thought I had it all figured out. I thought confronting them, revealing their lies, would give me the closure I needed. But now, as I sat in my apartment, alone and replaying the events over and over in my head, I realized how wrong I had been. What now? What did I do next? I hadn't heard from Emma or Liam since the ceremony. I had expected them to come crawling, apologizing, begging for forgiveness. But not a word. Nothing. Days passed, and I began to feel the weight of the decision I had made. The people around me, my family, my friends, were divided. Some supported me completely, convinced I was in the right. Others, mostly people who had always been close to Emma and Liam, were less understanding. They didn't see things the way I did. They didn't see the years of hurt and betrayal that had led to this. They saw a woman who had ruined a wedding that wasn't even mine anymore. There was even gossip, whispers from mutual friends about how I had humiliated them, how I was too harsh. The words stung, but I told myself it didn't matter. These were people who had no idea what it felt like to have your world ripped out from under you. They didn't know the pain of betrayal. But it wasn't the strangers' opinions that hurt. It was the silence from the people who I thought mattered most. It was Emma. It was Liam. 3 days later, I received a call from Liam. His name flashed across my phone, and for a moment I froze. I had expected this. Him coming to apologize, grovel, say all the things I wanted to hear. But when I answered, his voice was flat, detached, almost like he didn't even recognize the weight of what had happened. "Ava," he said, sounding weary, "we need to talk. I think you owe me that much, don't you?" I could feel my blood start to boil. The nerve of him. After everything, he was acting like I was the one who owed him. "You owe me, Liam," I snapped. "I owe you nothing." "I'm not asking for your forgiveness," he replied, his voice tinged with frustration. "I'm asking for you to hear me out, for once." I almost hung up on him, but I didn't. I needed to hear what he had to say. I needed him to admit what he had done, even if I already knew the truth. "Fine," I said, my voice cold. "Talk." Liam went on to explain that he had never intended for things to spiral out of control the way they had. He claimed that Emma had pushed him into the relationship, that she had been so convincing, so demanding of his attention that he eventually caved. He admitted to feeling guilty, but only after I had exposed him. The guilt was so heavy on him, he said, that he couldn't sleep at night. But there was no apology. No, "I'm sorry for breaking your heart." No, "I shouldn't have lied to you." Instead, he told me about his feelings, about his struggle. And that, right there, was the problem. He was still the man who had betrayed me for months, the man who couldn't look past his own selfish desires to think about how he had hurt me. "I'm sorry it had to come to this," Liam said in the end. "But I've moved on, Ava. I don't know what you want from me, but I think it's time you moved on too." I couldn't believe my ears. Moved on. After everything we had shared. After the years we'd spent planning our lives together. How could he so casually dismiss everything we had? "Goodbye, Liam," I said, cutting him off before he could say anything else. "You made your choice, and I've made mine." I hung up before he could respond, but the words lingered in my mind long after the call ended. I've moved on. He had moved on. And the worst part, he didn't feel sorry, he didn't care. As the days dragged on, I began to realize that this wasn't just about getting revenge, it was about reclaiming myself. But doing that wasn't easy. The emotional roller coaster I'd been on had left me drained. I wanted to scream, to cry, to somehow make all this pain go away. But there was no escaping it. I had to face the reality of what had happened. I looked at the pictures from the wedding, the ones Emma had taken before everything went south, and I felt a surge of anger. She had played me like a fool. She had convinced me she was my friend while secretly plotting to steal my future. But I couldn't let her win. I couldn't let Liam's indifference be the final word in my story. I knew what I had to do. I had to take back what was mine. Not the dress, not the wedding, not Liam. But my peace, my dignity, my future. Just as I was beginning to think I could let go of everything and walk away from the wreckage they had left behind, I received a message from Emma. I was hesitant to open it, afraid of what she might say. But I did. "I never meant for things to go this far. I was selfish, and I know I hurt you. But I still want us to be friends, Ava. I'm so sorry. Can we talk?" Her message was full of regret, but it didn't feel genuine. It felt like an apology out of obligation, a message to clear her conscience. She had ruined my life. She had stolen my dreams, and now she wanted me to let her off the hook. I couldn't even respond. Not yet. Not until I figured out who I was outside of the chaos they had created. It was clear to me now. This wasn't just about getting back at Emma and Liam. It wasn't about revenge anymore. It was about reclaiming my life, my strength, and my happiness. But I couldn't do it alone. I needed to rebuild. I needed to forgive myself for letting them break me. And most importantly, I needed to move forward. How would you have handled the situation with Liam and Emma? Do you think I should give them a chance to apologize, or is it too late? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If you're enjoying this story, make sure to like and subscribe. You don't want to miss the next chapter. The final twist is just around the corner, and it's going to leave you shocked. I never expected this moment to come. I thought I had already been through the worst of it, the betrayal, the heartbreak, the revenge. But here I was, face to face with the two people who had shattered my world. And what happened next? It changed everything. It was the final twist I never saw coming, and it left me questioning everything I thought I knew. It was the calm before the storm. I had spent days, weeks, contemplating what would happen when the dust finally settled, when the anger I had felt for so long began to fade. But even in my wildest dreams, I never imagined this. There was a knock on my door. I opened it, half expecting it to be another apologetic message from Emma or a text from Liam begging for forgiveness. But no, this was different. This time it was Emma, standing there in front of me, tears in her eyes, her hands trembling. For a moment, I didn't know what to say. The silence between us was thick, as though the air itself was holding its breath. The woman who had stolen my wedding dress, the woman who had turned my life upside down, was standing in front of me, vulnerable and broken. She didn't say anything at first. Instead, she just stood there, looking at me as if she was waiting for me to speak, to tell her what I was thinking. But I wasn't thinking anything at all. I was numb. I could still feel the sting of everything she had done, but there was something different in her eyes. Something I couldn't place. She had hurt me more than I ever thought possible, yet here she was, apologizing in front of me, with nothing but guilt written all over her face. "Ava," she whispered, her voice shaky. "I don't know what to say. I'm sorry. I truly am. I was selfish, and I didn't realize how much I hurt you until it was too late." Her words hung in the air, and for a moment, I almost believed them. I almost wanted to believe that everything had been a mistake, but then the memory of that dress, of Liam's betrayal, flooded back. "You're sorry?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper, the anger starting to creep back into my tone. "You took everything from me, Emma. You took the dress, you took my future, and you took my trust. You think a simple 'I'm sorry' can fix that?" She flinched at my words, her eyes welling up with tears, but I wasn't finished. Not yet. "I don't know what you expected from me," I continued, stepping back into the apartment. "But I've spent weeks hating you. And I've spent days blaming myself for even thinking that you were my friend. This was never about the dress. It was about the betrayal, the lies, and you don't just get to walk back into my life like nothing happened." I could see the pain on her face, and I almost felt bad for a second. Almost. But then I remembered the months of emotional torment I had endured, the sleepless nights, the questioning of everything I thought was real. She didn't deserve my forgiveness. Not yet. "I was wrong," Emma said, her voice breaking. "But I love you, Ava. You were my best friend, and I didn't mean to hurt you. I never meant for any of this to happen." There it was, the words that I had wanted to hear all along. But as soon as they left her mouth, something shifted inside me. I didn't feel the satisfaction I thought I would. I didn't feel relief or peace. All I felt was emptiness. Because it wasn't enough. It wasn't enough to just say the words. Not after everything that had happened. I walked past her, my mind racing. I needed space. I needed to breathe. And I needed answers. Suddenly, I heard a voice from behind me. "Ava, wait." It was Liam. I froze, the last person I wanted to see. The last person I wanted to confront. But there he was, standing at the door, his expression unreadable. "Liam," I said, turning to face him. "What do you want? Didn't you already make it clear how you feel about me?" "I never meant for it to happen like this," he replied, his voice low, almost apologetic. "I didn't want to hurt you, Ava. I made a mistake, but I still love you." The words hit me like a punch in the stomach. After everything he had done, he was standing here, telling me that he still loved me. I could feel the walls I'd built around myself start to crumble. "No," I said firmly, my voice growing stronger. "You don't get to say that. You don't get to tell me you love me now. You had your chance. You chose her. You chose Emma. And look where that got us. Look where you got us." I could see the hurt in his eyes, but I didn't care. Not anymore. He had broken me. He had broken my trust, my heart, and my future. "I made a mistake, Ava," Liam said quietly, his gaze steady. "But I'm willing to do whatever it takes to make it right." The anger in me flared again, hotter than before. "You think you can fix this? You think you can fix us? You can't, Liam. You already ruined it. It's over." For a moment, the room was still. There were no more words to say. There was nothing left to argue about. The damage had been done. And as much as I hated it, a part of me knew I would never be the same. "I'm sorry," Liam said, his voice barely audible. I looked at him one last time before turning back to Emma. She had no words left to speak, no more excuses to offer. Her guilt was written all over her face. The woman who had once been my closest friend was nothing but a stranger now. I'm done, I said. I'm done with both of you. And just like that, everything changed. I walked out the door, feeling the weight of my decisions sink in. No more second chances. No more looking back. It was time for me to move forward, to reclaim my life and my happiness. But as I walked away, there was still one question hanging in the air. Had I made the right decision? Was it really over? Or had I just walked away from the one thing that could have healed the pain? And just like that, everything changed. What was meant to be my moment was stolen, but in the end, it was her world that came crashing down. Revenge doesn't always look how you expect it, and sometimes it's the unexpected twists that teach us the greatest lessons. If you thought this story was crazy, wait until you see what happens next. Make sure to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. You don't want to miss the next shocking revelation. Comment below. What would you have done if you were in my shoes?